Committee of the Whole meeting for the Elgin City Council for June 28th, 2023 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Dixon? Good.
Here.
Martinez?
Here.
Ortiz?
Here.
Powell?
Here.
Rauschenberger? Steffen?
Here.
Thorne?
Here.
Mayor Captain.
Here. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of June 14th, 2023.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, clerk please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Steffen?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Mr. Manager.
Item A is on both agendas, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is the renewal of the property insurance program for the period dated July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. The city's property insurance is annually reviewed every July 1st. The risk management staff obtained a renewal premium initially that is $147,517 higher than the previous year. That information was accurate as of last Friday. The increase is driven by property market conditions, but the city's insurance carrier has provided 5 years of rate decreases during the previous 11 years. Corporation Counsel Cogley, in consultation with risk management analyst Kelly Wazlewski, has some supplementary information we want to provide to the City Council at this time regarding a rate decrease.
Yes, I sent an email out to the council this afternoon. Ms. Wazlewski directed our broker to continue negotiating through the weekend up until today to try to attempt to reduce the proposed premium increase based on several factors. And I'm happy to tell you that those negotiations have been successful. The provider, APIP, has agreed to reduce the proposed increase from $147,517 to approximately $74,000, so representing a savings of over $73,000. So the new premium increase is $74,169.47, or 13%, rather than the original proposed increase of 26%. So the new total annual premium is not the $720,140 indicated in the memo, but $646,792.47. So I've also provided you in the email a revised resolution reflecting this reduced annual premium.
Okay, thank you. This is on both agendas. Any questions at this time? Staff? Ms. Powell?
Were there any other changes to the coverage?
No.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you for your persistence. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Item B is the Sikich LLC audit presentation. This evening, Sikich LLP Director Tom Sawicki will be discussing the City of Elgin's 2022 Annual Consolidated Financial Report. How are you, Mr. Sawicki?
Can everyone hear me? All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Sawicki. I'm a director with Sikich, and we are the auditors for the city's December 31st, 2022 fiscal year-end audit. I'd like to thank you for giving me a few minutes this evening to go through the results of the audit. Also like to thank Deb and the entire finance team for all their assistance this year during the audit process. It was a really smooth process from start to finish, as it is typically every year, so I thank her and her staff for all their help this year. This evening, I'm going to go through at a high level a couple of the reports that we issued this year. The first being the larger of the reports, the annual comprehensive financial report, or the audit report, and then as well as the auditor's communication to City Council. So I'm going to start with the annual comprehensive financial report, or the audit report. If you have that in front of you, what I wanted to do was kind of go through in a little bit of detail what's actually in this report. There's a lot of information. It's 193 pages. So I kind of wanted to lay out exactly what's in this report and where that information's at. So the report is broken out into 3 sections. There's the introductory section, financial, and statistical section. Introductory section just has a couple of items in there, list of principal officials, org chart, things like that. Financial sections where the bulk of the information's at then, the various financial statements and schedules. And then the statistical sections at the end of the report. Going into a little more detail on these specific schedules themselves. So you have the government-wide financial statements. That's essentially the consolidated financial statements for the city. It includes all of the fund information for the governmental activities and the business type activities for the city. Business type being your water, sewer, and golf course funds. So the governmental-wide financial statements present on a long-term basis, so it includes your capital asset activity and your long-term debt activity, as opposed to your governmental fund financial statements, which are short-term focused and do not include that information in there. You can kind of relate that to more of a corporate type financial statement presentation, kind of how you'd think that they have all the long-term debt, capital assets, things like that on the full accrual method. Again, the fund financial statements are presented on a short-term basis, the focus being on the current spendable resources, kind of like how you budget. Additionally, after that, we have a reconciliation that goes from the governmental fund balance sheet to the entity-wide balance sheet, as well as the income statement to the income statement. After that, we have the proprietary fund financial statements. So again, that's going to be your water, sewer, and golf course funds. You have the income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flows for those. Again, those are presented on a long-term basis, so they have capital asset and long-term debt activity in there as well. After that is the fiduciary fund financial statements. These are not included in the entity-wide statements because they're in a fiduciary type fund. So these are like your police pension fund, your fire pension fund, your retiree health pension funds are in those schedules. After that is the notes to the financial statements. Those provide additional context to the numbers within the financial statements. After that is required supplementary information. That includes budget versus actual reports for your general fund and any major special revenue funds. And then some additional information on some of your pension plans, including police, fire, retiree health, the employer contributions, the net pension liabilities, and the investment returns. After that's the supplementary information section. So that includes some additional budget versus actual reports for some of the other funds that are in place that were not in the RSI section. So just some additional information in the back of the report. And then again, the last section is the statistical section. So what that does a good job of is showing some trend information, a lot of times over 10 years worth of information. So it's good to kind of see the financial trends and health of the city over a period of time. So getting into some of the pages after the table of contents, I was going to point you to page III. So that's right after the organizational chart. This is the city's Certificate of Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting from GFOA. So annually, the city submits the ACFR to GFOA. The certificate here is for the city's FY21 submission. It's the 42nd year the city has received this, and Deb will be submitting the FY22 ACFR for submission this year, and we anticipate the city will get the 43rd consecutive certificate next year. Going a few pages after that, if you go to page 1 within the financial statement section, this is the independent auditor's report. These 4 pages here are the only 4 pages that we write that come from the auditors. The rest of the report is all the city's information. These are just the only 4 that come from us as auditors. So point out a couple of sections within the the auditor's report. The first section is the opinion section, the one you're probably most ready to hear about. So I'm pleased to report that we've issued an unmodified opinion over the basic financial statements. That's also known as a clean audit opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. One other thing to note this year, the change in accounting principle paragraph down there. The city implemented GASB statement number 87 for leases this year. It was kind of a larger GASB standard implementation. It just changes the way that the city has to present the leases that they have outstanding, how they're presented on the financial statements. On page 2, discusses the various responsibilities that management has and us as auditors have. So the management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. Us as auditors, our responsibility is to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So that's what we do throughout our audit process. On pages 3 and 4, we have 3 other subsections here for RSI. RSI is we perform limited procedures over the required supplementary information, just agree it and articulate it to the rest of the financial information. The supplementary information, we give it what we call an in relation to opinion over. And then the other information, which is the introductory and statistical sections, we do not audit. Right after that is the management's discussion and analysis section, beginning on MD&A page 1. So Deb prepares the MD&A. She does a really good job of putting this together for us. It provides a really good overview of the financial information during the fiscal year. But what it does a really nice job of is comparing the current year information to the prior year as well, and then also providing explanations and reasons why things change. So a lot of the rest of the report is just kind of static information, just what was the balance in FY22. This says what was it FY22, what was it in FY21, and then why did it change from year to year. So I always like to point out, if you don't read anything else, if you don't read all 193 pages of this report, I'd encourage you to at least read through the MD&A section of this report. So going beyond the MD&A, if you go to page 5, this begins the city's entity-wide financial statements. This is the statement of net position. It's essentially the balance sheet for the city. On page 7 is the statement of activities. That's essentially the income statement for the city as a whole. Beginning on page 9 is the balance sheet for the governmental funds for the city. Going into a little detail on this one, this is presented for each of your governmental funds. There's a separate column for each of your major funds, those being the general, ARPA, and debt service funds this year, and then one aggregate column for any of the non-major funds. So looking at the general fund this year, on page 10, general fund had unrestricted unassigned fund balance of about $109 million this year. But that also includes the Elgin Riverboat Fund. I'll show that in just a second here, but it combines both the general and that Elgin Riverboat Fund in there. If you go 2 more pages to page 12, this is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the governmental funds. So again, broken out by your major funds and then the aggregate non-major fund column there. The general fund had a net change in fund balance of about $29.2 million increase in FY22, bringing it to a total of about $118 million in fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. If you go a couple more pages then, the next section is the proprietary fund financial statements. Those are your water, sewer, and golf funds. On page 16, wanted to point out that each of the funds had net increase to their net position during the fiscal year, so just showing that charges for services are covering the expenses that are being incurred in those funds. The next section is your fiduciary fund section. Those would be information related to your pension plans, retiree health plan, and your custodial funds. And then beyond that, the next slew of pages is the notes to the financial statements. I won't go into great detail on these, but just to know that these are here, provides additional information, additional context behind the numbers in the financial statements. So if you have a question on any of the information in the financials, there's a good chance a lot of that can be explained in the footnotes to the financial statements here. Where I'll direct you to next is after the footnotes on page 89. This is in the required supplementary information section. So the first schedule here is a schedule of employer contributions. This is for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund Plan. So the schedule shows that the city makes all of its required contributions into the IMRF plan annually. This year was about 7% of overall covered payroll. The next schedule is the IMRF plan, the SLEP plan. There's no active current employees in that, so no contributions during the fiscal year. On pages 91 and 92, these are the police and fire pension fund plans and the employer contributions on those plans. The city funds the police and fire pension plans above the state minimum. The state minimum is to fund the plans 90% by the year 2040. The city's going to be fully 100% funding that plan by the year 2040. So what the actuary does is they run what they call a solvency test to ensure that the projected net position in that plan will cover the future projected benefit payments that are going to be, that the city will have to make, and both these plans met that projection. If you go a couple more pages then to page 94, this is now the schedule of changes in the employer's net pension liability and related ratios. Again, this is for the IMRF plan. Just wanted to point out at the end of 2021, and so the city uses 1-year-old data for IMRF, which is allowable, and this is based on the timing of when that information is available. At the end of 21, the city had a net pension asset of about $38 million in the IMRF plan. IMRF plan is one of the best funded plans out there, so no concerns on that one at all. Similarly with the IMRF SLEP plan on page 96, That one had a net pension asset at the end of 2021 of $916,000. Then on pages 98 and 100 are the net pension liability schedules for the police and fire pension plans. The police pension plan had a net pension liability of about $133 million at the end of fiscal year 2022. Represents about a 53.3% funded status on that plan. Again, though, these two plans are both projected to be fully funded by the year 2020. A big driver, if you look at the bottom, the increase of the net pension liability there went up by about $37 million. A big driver in that, if you look in the fiduciary net position section, net investment income in the plan was actually a net loss of about $22 million during FY22. The market declines during FY22 caused that. It's not unique to the city. It's been things we've seen all of our clients. So when the actuary assumes a certain percent return on investments, and you actually have a net loss of $22 million, that can wildly swing that net pension liability number. So similarly with the fire pension plan, the fire pension plan had a net pension liability of about $100 million at the end of FY22. Again, a net investment loss of about $19 million in that fund during the fiscal year. And then just beyond that, one last thing to point out, as I had mentioned, the city's general fund includes both the general fund and the Elgin Riverboat Fund. So on pages 150 through 152, that shows the combining schedule of those. So you can kind of see how those are broken out into separate general and Elgin Riverboat funds. One thing to point out here, you'll see in the Elgin Riverboat Fund column, there's a large lease receivable balance of about $40 million there. Again, with the implementation of GASB 87 for leases, that now gets recorded on your balance sheet. Since the city leases out to the riverboat, there's actually a receivable out there for that now. And then on page 152 is the schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the general fund. I just wanted to point out at the end of the fiscal year, the general fund had $118 million in fund balance, 102 million of which is the actual general fund, 16 million is that Elgin Riverboat Fund. So those are kind of the high-level items I want to point out from the audit report for the year. I also wanted to quickly run through the auditor's communication to City Council report, if you have that as well. This report, if you look at the table of contents, there's a couple of sections in here. The first being our required communication with those charged with government. It's a required letter we have to send out to the board at all of our clients. So that just kind of goes through a couple of items. It was mainly routine this year. The only new thing was the GASB 87 implementation during the fiscal year. No disagreements with management, no delays in the audit. We also discussed any journal entries or material entries we had to post during the fiscal year. And I'd like to point out we only had one adjusting journal entry during the audit process, which for the size of this city is fantastic work by Deb and her team. And then just beyond that, on page 7 begins the communication of deficiencies. This would be if we found anything in internal controls we thought could use improvements, we'd document it here. We had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies and no current year deficiency comments as well. We only have the one recurring one from the prior year on page 8. So again, one comment for the city this size is a fantastic job by the entire finance team. So just wanted to point that out. And those were all the high-level items I want to point out from both the audit report and the required communication report. And I wanted to open up to anyone if you had any questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Slowicki? Yes. I just have a comment, and
Yeah.
we talk about pensions, and you know, we've been pretty diligent in adding extra money into our pension funds for the past almost 10 years now, and trying to catch up. It doesn't make me feel better that I know that everybody else is standing in the same sinking boat, and we seem to be all struggling with pensions. And when I see the state of Illinois and with their pension problems as in the Bs, that's something I think that we all have to pay attention to. And I don't think there's anything more that we can do as a city than what we're trying to do right now, to try to meet the pension requirements. And I think that's fair for the public to know that we're doing the best that we can do to keep up. But this is a huge problem for us. It becomes a dynamic problem because of the interest rates changing. whether they go up and down and how our investments perform, those types of things. So it's not like a fixed thing where we keep throwing a little bit of money in every paycheck to Social Security or something like that. So we've done a pretty good job, I think, over the past, but it's a lot of money to be, it's a big hill to be staring at. We have to pay back, yeah.
Yeah, just to reiterate that the city's actually funding above and beyond the state minimum requirements on that as well.
Yeah.
So the minimum requirement being 90% funded by the year 2040, and the city's going to be fully anticipating being 100% funded by the year 2040, so.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Slocum? Ms. Powell?
Thank you for coming and doing this presentation today. I don't really have any questions. I just want to thank staff for all of the work that they put into this. I know the public can't see the pages and pages of documents that we're looking at, but it's a lot, and I know it took a lot of effort to put this together. So thank you to Deb Nowacki and the finance team and our city management team, because this is no small feat, but it's something that we have to do as a municipality every year. And I'm really proud of the fact that every year when we go through this exercise, we come out on top. We come out looking very good. So apparently, as most of us already knew, we're a well-run organization, and we're doing a lot of things correctly. So I appreciate you coming and reviewing this. And for those in the audience or those at home that are watching, I believe this will be online for folks to read if they're looking for something to help them go to sleep at night. They can go through and read
That's good reading.
all the pages. I mean, unless you're an accountant or finance person, you might find it fascinating. But those of us who aren't, it's hard.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But I just wanted to thank our team for consistently doing a really good job with this. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And also just to point out with that, as I had mentioned earlier, the city goes through the certificate program through GFOA, which is not required. It's a volunteer type program that the city chooses to be a part of, which is above the minimum reporting requirements. So it's additional information, additional transparency as well the city provides.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Anything else? Thank you very much. Mr. Manager.
Councilmember Powell, thank you for your comments, but as you know, this doesn't happen without the guidance of the council. So we too appreciate the direction that you've afforded us in being able to maintain the high levels of fiscal responsibility, and we take great pride in being able to serve council members who allow us to do that. Thank you as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Item C, continued discussion on the project timeline for the new trash collection, recycling pickup, and organics composting contract beginning in January 2025. As a reminder, the city's current waste hauler contract expires at the end of next year. Staff is planning to introduce a survey to collect resident feedback on current and future uses of curbside waste, recycling, and organics collection. The data collected through this survey will be guiding the creation of the request for proposals for trash collection, recycling pickup, and organics composting beginning, as we said, in January 2025. At the last meeting, there was a request for council members to consult with staff on some additional feedback for the drafted survey. Mr. Neal and Ms. Phillips have solicited comments from the city council members and have presented earlier today a comprehensive reworking of the survey that incorporates all that comments. So this evening, we're here to present that revised survey and entertain comments from the council. Mr. Neal, Ms. Phillips, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. We're back. As the manager suggested, 2 weeks ago today, June 14th, we presented our plans for a community survey, and we asked your guidance that we come back tonight so that we can discuss. Immediately after the 14th, on the morning of the 15th, we sent out a copy of the existing survey that staff created, and we received comments back from the City Council up until last Thursday. On Monday of this week, we reached out to those council members who had comments. We were able to incorporate those comments into the survey itself. We were able to wrap that document up yesterday in a PDF form, and we sent it out to you this morning. So the document that you have today is just the PDF. Our goal 2 weeks ago was to have enough time to actually put this survey into the actual survey Google Forms document so you could see it live. With comments rolling in last week until Thursday, we didn't have enough time, and our consultant's schedule was already tied up, so we did not have that time to get back with the consultant. So after today, we're going to review the PDF. We're going to work with our consultant beginning probably midweek next week, which is his first availability. We're going to compile everything into the survey, and we'll be ready for release. So that's kind of the status of where we're at today. We've lost the screen again, Sue? All right. I brought a different computer up here. Okay, we're
There.
good. I'm not going
Don't touch
to move.
it. Don't touch it.
All right, so just a quick follow-up on what the timeline is, right? We're sitting here today, we're 18 months ahead of our current contract being over in the January 1st, 2025 date when our new contract begins. This summer and fall, we're going to work on the community survey and get a report back on that survey that we're going to share with the council. Over the winter, we are going to create the RFP with a selection process happening probably late spring or early summer of 2024. We'll get approval from the council based on the RFP results and our selection process, and then a new contract will be instituted in January of 2025. As Sue goes and gets me a new Donegal, I kind of have to stop because this is the most important part. The one thing that I do ask tonight is that you allow Jenny and I to get through this entire presentation, which is going to include the now 27 questions that are included on the survey that are up from 21 when we presented it 2 weeks ago. Allow us to get through the entire presentation, and then at the end we'll ask questions. It'll just be an easier flow for us to not have to stop and continue. But we are prepared to ask questions. Does everyone have a copy of? No, Donegal. Okay, we're back.
Yep. There it is.
This is Gio's Donegal, so I'm going to blame it on Gio. Thanks, Gio. Does everyone have a copy of the survey?
Yep.
Present?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we're just going to hop right into it. The very first page of the survey is the welcome page, the who, why, and how we are doing things. There were some comments made 2 weeks ago about the discrepancy between single-family homes and the fact that this community has single-family, multifamily, and condos. So any reference to single-family was removed from the survey. So that is one of the first things that one of the changes that we made. As we move to the second page, Ms. Phillips is going to hop in and kind of explain what's going on for you.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for following along with me. So again, we're going to ask for the respondent of the survey to provide to us their email address. We're still anticipating that the survey take anywhere between 7 to 10 minutes. As Aaron had mentioned, we have included some additional questions, which may take the respondents a little bit longer to complete. The second question on the survey is going to be the one right above the garbage cans that you see in your packet. Do you currently have a solid waste and recycling curbside services with the City of Elgin? The respondent would be selecting yes or no. If the respondent selects no, they will be taken to the conclusion of this survey and thanked for their participation time. Should you select yes, you will be moving on into the survey, and we're going to capture the data for zip codes. As we talked about a few weeks ago, it's important to grab those demographics from the respondents so that we can see who is participating in this survey. Moving along to question number 4. This was originally just specific to the totality of services that are provided curbside, your recycling and your refuse. Upon discussions with the elected officials, we have made the decision that it would be advantageous to separate those two questions, being 4 and 5. So looking at question number 4, we'll be talking about your levels of service, specifically those satisfaction ratings for waste services. Are you very satisfied, satisfied, neutral, somewhat dissatisfied, or very dissatisfied? If the respondent selects a somewhat dissatisfied or very dissatisfied response, they will move on to question 4B, which we're going to drill down on what some of those reasons might be for that dissatisfaction. If you recall, I had discussed previously that this portion of the survey would kind of be a fill-in portion where the resident could then tell us why they are dissatisfied with those services. We are now going to give them an option to select those that are applicable to why they may be dissatisfied, which may include poor service from the vendor, don't like the program structure, too expensive, doesn't meet my household needs, and they are given the option to select other, which then would allow them to give us a little bit more content in writing. This is a apply all that are related to that dissatisfaction. It's not just one. They have many opportunities to select those little levels of dissatisfaction. So with the recommendation, thank you from council, we have added that as a two-part question. Once was 4, now is 4 and 5. So I'm moving along to question number 5, which is going to be specific about the recycling services. The feedback that we received is that there have been conversations in the community where a resident really enjoys the recycling program, but then they have some concerns about the waste. That is why the two questions are separated. Question 5 being specific to recycling, mirrors question number 4, same experience. If there's a level of dissatisfaction, we're going to want to know why there's a level of dissatisfaction. Moving along to question number 6, and I would be remiss to say that as Aaron and I have been working on this, as you can imagine, sometimes our eyes are getting crossed, and it's been some long conversations, so I appreciate the understanding that there are some typos that we will be addressing in number 6. Question number 6, there is a typo. In number 6, we're going to please ask the respondent to rank the following options on how would they like the City of Elgin to prioritize waste and recycling services. Picking 1 as the highest priority, 4 as the low, service options, sustainable practices, waste reduction, and cost per home. Moving along to question number 7. We really wanted to step back and find out how our residents are recycling, because it was mentioned from the dais that some may not recycle every week, that we may wait a few weeks to let it build up and let that recycling bin get full before we push it out to the curb for service. So question number 7 is specific as to how often does your household recycle curbside? Monthly. It could be weekly, 2 times a month, 1 time a month, or my household doesn't recycle. With that said, we have now moved on to question number 8. We're going to capture what items does your household recycle curbside. This is also going to give us an idea of the things that are being placed in those recycling toters, and mirroring on number 7, the frequency in which those are being done. Question number 9, we are asking our residents, again, this is from feedback from the Sustainability Commission, how likely are you to take items to a grocery store or other off-site or other sites for recycling that are not accepted in the curbside program? Very likely, somewhat likely, neutral, somewhat unlikely, and or very unlikely. Moving along to question number 10, how likely are you to recycle an item if required, requires you to prepare? So those are the times where we're talking about rinsing out that peanut butter jar or those types of things. Very likely, somewhat likely, neutral, somewhat unlikely, or very unlikely. We move on to question number 11. This is where we're going to ask, how does your household typically dispose of plastic grocery bags? This is information that was just determined would be helpful as we move along organizationally. So the respondent has the option to select all options that apply in this instance, reuse those plastic bags for other purposes, return them to a retail store, put them in the refuse cart, put them in the recycling cart, or my household does not use plastic grocery bags.
Council, and I just want to point out that this question, 11, was on our original survey that was provided to you last week. We believe that this question was going to be able to extract how the community recycles plastic bags, but it was asked by Councilwoman Powell and the mayor both to add a question about the plastic bag ordinance. So this next question, or one of the next questions is an addition to the council. But I did just want to point out that question 11 was in the original survey, and one of the responses was return them to a retail store. So we are trying to capture that data, but we were asked to be a little bit more specific about the ordinance that will be in front of you soon. So I'll hop in now. Question 12 is that question. The City of Elgin Sustainability Commission has made a recommendation to institute a plastic bag ordinance to reduce single-use plastic bags at retail stores, encouraging the practice of reusable bags. The recommendation includes a 10-cent fee per plastic bag used at the time of checkout. Would you support a city-wide plastic bag ordinance that includes a per-use fee at retail stores? The addition of that question is a direct reflection of the comments made to us by council members. Question 13 moves on to say, how does your household currently participate in organics recycling, yard waste, food scraps, yard waste and food scraps, or none? That is an original question to staff survey last week. Question 14 was tweaked a little bit through comments, and it says the city currently has a combined curbside organics collection program, which allows households to include yard waste and food scraps within a third curbside cart. Would you be interested in participating in the combined collection program? In 2019, when we went through the renewal with Waste Management, we did institute a organics collection, which included this third curbside cart. To date, there are only 59 residents in the community who take advantage of it. So we wanted to see, knowing that a majority of the community, either one, doesn't know this program exists, or if they do know it exists, we wanted to see what their level of participation would be. Question 15 is more on the organics collection. So we're going to get data on would you participate? And question 15 talks about would you participate if there was a fee? And the fee structure for the 2023 program is included. There's 3 current carts that you can secure, and those are the fees for the season. So we're seeking, if you want to participate, would you pay for the service, to see what data we can extract there. The next question is added to gauge the community's response and sticker uses. So the city's current waste hauler offers yard waste collection between the months of April and November. During the months of April, October, and November, yard waste is collected at no cost to the residents. During the months of May, June, July, August, and September, yard waste stickers are required for the disposal of yard waste. During a normal month, how many stickers do you purchase? This is a direct reflection of some of the feedback we received from Councilperson Powell to see what our sticker sales or how many stickers residents are purchasing. Question 17 talks about additional waste that requires a waste sticker, and how many stickers are purchased for additional waste per user and per survey taker. And then followed by question 18, which talks about bulk items. The city allows the collection of bulk items through our current contracts, such as couches, mattresses, small furniture. That also requires a sticker. And the question is the same: during a typical month, how many stickers do you purchase for the collection of bulk items? Question 19 is surrounded around the city's At Your Door Special Collection Service, which is a service provided by Waste Management, tacked onto the base rate of the resident's bill, $1.34 in 2023, which allows residents to call Waste Management to collect household hazardous materials, electronics. It's been an extremely successful program. We have some numbers on that we'll talk about later this presentation. The question highlights that the cost for this service is included in your base rate. When scheduled, the collection is at no additional cost to the resident. How often does your household use this service? Jenny's going to hop back in at 20.
Okay, so for question number 20, originally we were asking about, if you recall, the toter sizes. Were they the right size? Were they not big enough? Are they just right? So upon further discussion, it was determined that the city needed to provide in the survey an opportunity for the residents to tell us what size toter they have. So you'll see on question number 20, there's between 20 and 21, there is a graph just showing the different sizes of the toter, going from the small 35 to the larger 96, and then 96 being where there is the figure of the person next to it. So Apologize, I skipped around. Back to question number 20. The city's current waste hauler offers that annual drop-off event. It was suggested to us to include the word electronics to this question. The drop-off event does not include electronics. It's bulk items and just document destruction only. So we did not include the word electronics. To participate, it's a $20 fee. Have you used this service? Yes, no, and have you not? Question number 21 will be about those toter sizes. The current base level waste cart is a 64. A 35-gallon is available upon request in lieu of the 64-gallon, while a 96 cart is secured an additional fee. What cart size do you have? So we'll be capturing that information from the respondent. Then we are going to ask in question number 22, how satisfied are you with that size of your current waste cart? Too big, just right, too small? Moving on to question number 23, the current base level recycling cart. So again, we're talking about the two different cart options curbside. The recycling cart is available in a 64-gallon standard. A 35-gallon recycling cart is available upon request. In lieu of that 64, there are some folks that prefer to have a smaller recycling cart. We do not have a 96-gallon option for recycling. What is afforded to our residents in the current contract is if they have excess recycling that does not fit in their 96-gallon toter with the lid flush, they can self-purchase a recycling toter marked recycling next to their standard cart or their 35-gallon cart that will be taken at no additional cost weekly. So that's why there's only the 35 or the 64-gallon option for recycling. We will capture that information. Moving along to question number 24, how satisfied are you with your current recycling cart? Too big, just right, too small? Again, considering those options of the 35 or 64-gallon. We're going to wrap up the survey discussing what forms of information and education as it relates to waste recycling and organics collection practices would the respondent receive or ways for them to find helpful to communicate with the city. Would it be the newsletter, brochures, social media, community presentations, discussions, pop-up booths that people attend, city web pages, email surveys, and or I may not be interested in information as it relates to waste recycling and organic practices. Question number 26 of the survey, how do you currently engage with the city? For us, we felt that there was a difference between the current ways you do and the ways in which you prefer to have that information shared with you. So 26 captures that. We will wrap up the survey with question number 27. Do you have any other thoughts on how waste and recycling services may be improved or any other comments that you would like to share? I also would like to point out on the survey, throughout the survey, there are hyperlinks. So on the questions where we talk about bulk items or the at-your-door services, should the respondent need a reminder of what those services are, they can click on that hyperlink and be directed right to the city's webpage. And Aaron and I took a critical eye at that this week and made sure that that was prepared for the launch of the survey as well. So that brings us to when we are able to put this survey out to the community. I just wanted to give everyone a reminder of how we would be doing that again. I would be remiss to point out, I know that my team in the 311 department and folks here on the dais may have gotten some questions about how they saw in the library newsletter the information about the survey. So when Gail Borden Library asked us for information for the survey publication that came out just this week, we had to finalize that in May. So when that information was finalized, we were in anticipation that this survey was going to be hitting, would be ready to go. So that was a miss. Unfortunately, we have just been telling people, just give us a moment and we'll get that survey out to you, and my staff in 311 will be calling folks back to let them know when it's live for those who have desired for that return phone call. So once we're able to get this up and running, there is the standard QR code that we discussed last week that'll direct to the cityofelgin.org/WRO survey. It also is important to reiterate that we will be doing direct mailers to those homes in the community impacted by the solid waste contract and recycling contract. Those direct mailers are going to include over 3,100 households. So that is going to be hitting their mailboxes at home. It's going to be hitting their social media pages. We'll be doing a Waste Wednesday campaign again through the duration of the survey so that we can capture as much feedback as possible from our residents.
Without the screen showing, Councilwoman Powell had asked for some data on recycling trends as well as at your door. I will email that out to you folks. We do have that data included. But specifically as it relates to the at your door program, waste management at your door program. In 2022 as a whole, the city had 2,496 scheduled collections last year, and they collected 141,000 pounds of material through the At Your Door program. 130,000 pounds was recycled. So that equates to, through the At Your Door program, 92% of the material collected through At Your Door. A lot of it's electronics. Folks know that if I can have Waste Management come pick up a TV for free, based on paying $30, $40 at a drop-off site, that is beneficial to them. There were two additional slides that talk about waste and recycled tonnage on an annual basis that's collected from Waste Management, as well as annual sticker sales that we included. Like I said, we'll send that off to you guys so you have it. But that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Questions for Aaron or Jenny? Mr. Ortiz.
No questions. I want to say thank you for revising it, removing the single word from single family, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thanks, Council.
Mr. Stefan.
Thank you, guys. This has been a lot of work, I know. So I wanted to, first of all, thank you. A couple things. I sent you an email earlier today, and the comment on question 14, actually, you've answered it a bit in your presentation tonight, which is you've told us you're going to have hyperlinks to a lot of this information, because I think, for me personally anyway, relating to question 14, since we compost our own food waste in our backyard and don't use the yard waste, I didn't even know this was a program that we had. So I might be representative of a lot of people that I read that as something that maybe we were proposing to do maybe in the future, than not realizing that it's something that we have currently, because I don't use it. So I was glad to hear that you're going to put a lot of hyperlinks in where people can go and get information on what we have currently, what that costs them. The information you've provided, we've got those, the presentation, you can't get up on the screen. We've got it, or I do, and I think others have it in the Dropbox.
Okay, cool.
So we've got that information. That's the information I'd like to also, I appreciate that you're going to put out there so people can see what we're doing, what kind of recycling is going on, the trends. So that was my first comment. I'm glad that you're going to put a lot of hyperlinks in there so people can, as much as they want to, take the time and effort, and there's some that want to really dig into this and see what's going on and where we're going, and what's being proposed and what's working and what's not working. The other comment I made is on question 12, the one that you've added on the single-use plastic bag ordinance. And the concern I had initially was that it's really incomplete the way the question's phrased, because I understand, because I worked on this a little bit a couple years ago, the goal of that ordinance is not to charge a tax, and the way the question reads, it's just asking, do you want a tax? Well, you know the answer to that already. I mean, you don't even have to ask the question. People are going to say no. Nobody wants a tax. What should be added is some language that says that the goal of that is to get people to change their behavior and use reusable bags, and if they do, then they don't pay anything. There's a way to avoid that tax entirely by using reusable bags. But then the more I thought about it and talking this over with people, this whole question really doesn't relate to the purpose of this survey and what we're doing with the waste contract and the recycling contract, because this is a separate thing. Although it's similar, it's actually not going to be affected by what we do with the contract and renewing it, putting it out for bid and renewing it. This is something that's separate with, as it says, retail stores and trying to change people's behavior. So those are just my comments on some of these things.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Ms. Martinez?
I just want to make a comment on the one that says municipal sticker program sales. It's just very interesting on how it's increasing, but in 2020, I mean, it really skyrocketed, so we know what happened there. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time and doing this. Just for clarity, this is going to be sent to some people at home. They have options of going online and answering it. The way you prevent, I guess, people filling multiples is by the email. Is that correct? Or how does that work?
By design of having the email included in the survey,
Allows us that.
we allows that as ability, but we also recognize that some folks have multiple email addresses and may submit it under a different email address. One of the things that I will be working through is if a resident does not have an email address and they need to go through the survey, that's something that the team in 311 would be doing. Exactly what I did here with you this evening is going question by question. So that would exclude the Elgin 311 email address because we're going to want to capture that information and afford that opportunity for those who don't have an email to share their feedback with us.
Correct. No, the reason why I bring this up is because if you remember when we did Parks and Recreation, and we were just bombarded by so many pickleball people, you know, and so that traumatized me. That was really about it. Thank you for your work.
Okay, anything else? Ms. Powell?
Thanks to Jennifer and Aaron for working with all of us to incorporate our feedback. I think the survey, I really like, the changes that have been made. I too still struggle a little bit with question 12. I know it's hard to try to word that in a way that you're going to get good information, but maybe just a little bit more tweaking to make people understand that yes, it is a 10-cent fee, but it's something that's avoidable. And even though it isn't directly related to the solid waste RFP, I mean, we have this opportunity to kind of gauge some feedback from folks. So I think it's important. It's a good chance to, a good opportunity for us to do that. Question 14 that speaks about the combined organics collection is still a little odd because I think one of the prior questions kind of covered this or something, but I think maybe when we were talking about it, because this might have been one of the questions or something I provided some feedback on, I think it was more geared towards would you participate if you didn't have to use a cart, if you can just put a sticker on a biodegradable bag and put it out. I think that was the difference.
Yeah, your comment, Councilwoman, was to include the inclusion of craft bags, and we did discuss that, and we talked about how the best practice, at least provided by Waste Management currently, is not to put food scraps in craft bags because of critters. It can get wet. People don't want it stinking. That's why the third cart is kind of the best practice. While it can be done, I do know that Waste Management, who again is not our next vendor in 2025, but Waste Management said they would not engage the city with a program that put food scraps in a brown craft paper bag. So while we can add that to the question, if that is your desire, we can surely do that. We can make that change. But when we discussed it, we had discussed that we were going to move in this direction, but we can make another adjustment. That's fine.
No, but otherwise, I think we're going to get some really helpful feedback from the survey. So looking forward to getting the word out and seeing what kind of response that we get from residents. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, guys, thank you for your work.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, real quick.
Sure.
I apologize. There is some conflicting request of staff about question 12, which is the plastic bag ordinance. Councilman Steffen says he doesn't believe it should be included in the survey, while Councilwoman Powell believes it should be. And I would just like some clarification on that before we move forward.
I think it should be. I think that's, it is an opportunity to gather some data. The other reason I like to look at it that way is that nothing is ever done for free. And if you want to make some changes, even if they're systemic for people, you create an ordinance that now takes something away from them. And they get free bags at the grocery stores, and from a sustainability standpoint, it can look as something that might be a positive. But from people that shop every day, they may not look at that. Certainly the store owners are not looking at it that way. So I think it's an opportunity to look at that. Yeah, are people going to say that's the, probably look at that and give it a no because of the fee that's attached to it? But you could look at that in just about everything that you've asked here. Do you want to put a bigger cart out? Yeah, you can have one, but it's going to cost you more. Well, now I don't want one. If I get it for free, I'll take one, but I don't want to pay for it. So I think those are the kind of things that we just have to try to plumb through this as the best we can. That's why I thought it was worthwhile to just gather that information and give some council something to, as a counterpoint when we come back to talk about that bag ordinance.
Okay.
And they do go to landfills, so it's not just a freebie either. They don't all get recycled. Like my wife and I carry them back to Jewel when we have them, or our cat takes care of it, but they do end up in a landfill. So, anyway, that's my...
Councilman Steffen, with that information,
That's my 2 cents.
we will make some adjustments to the question so that it reads a little bit differently. And Councilwoman Powell, to your point as well, we'll do our best to work with our consultant.
And if I could just, Mayor, if I could have the floor just a second. Just to, something else I'd point out is another reason I'm just realizing now looking at this is this survey is going to everybody who, or hopefully will go to everybody and will be taken by everybody who uses the waste and recycling services that we get currently through Waste Management. We're about to go out to bid for a new contract. But that doesn't include other multi-unit buildings and others that have their own private waste collection, private recycling, who I assume wouldn't take this. So the universe of people we're trying to get an opinion about the plastic bag ordinance is actually larger than who we're surveying here. So I just want to point that out as well. I mean, it's not a perfect fit, and that and the fact that, well, I'm hoping it'll be changed, the language, so it's a little more accurate about what's intended and what people could expect or what they could do to avoid the tax if they use reusable bags. If that's clarified, I think it might be a little more beneficial or useful to us. So, yes, thanks.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, Ms. Powell.
I was just going to echo what Councilman Steffen said, and maybe even on question 12, yes, no, or unsure, because people might be unsure. But I do think that making it clear that, I mean, for those of us who shop at Aldi's, we know that we can bring our own bags in and avoid having to buy bags. Same deal. But I think, pointing that out even more to people to make sure that they understand it's the same concept. I think that's important. But I agree, and I understand what Councilman Steffen is saying in terms of, this doesn't get feedback from businesses. It doesn't get feedback from apartment complexes that are not covered under the city solid waste program. But it gets a good, 25,000 plus households that are included in our program, 30. That's quite a few folks. So I think this will give us something to chew on after the data comes back.
Okay, anything else? Ms. Martinez.
I was just thinking of something as we're talking, like if we implement this bag fee or this ordinance, I was just sharing with some people that I live in the community. My location is where if I go to, let's say, Walmart, I'd probably go to Carpentersville because it's a lot quicker than it is over here on the west side, but it's a different town. So, I mean, people have to realize how everything's different. It's not going to be simple, or it's not going to be a fit for everybody, but it gives us an idea, and I think that's what we're looking for, is an idea. Second is that we have businesses here in Elgin that people will go ahead, and this would apply more for their homes, you know, if they live in Elgin, same, because they might have a dumpster at work, but, you know, it would help them for home. So we realize that this is not going to be perfect, but it gives us the idea. So, thank you.
We have our direction. The next you will be hearing from us will be when we send you all the link for the survey, the actual live survey. Like I said, that may take a week or two. Survey has to get updated, it has to get retranslated again. There's some work that has to go into this just from a technical side. But you will hear from me and Jenny in about 2 weeks with an email in your inbox that includes the link to the survey, and it will be open to not only you, but to the community as well.
Okay, thank you. We'll look forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we could probably get through this pretty quickly, but we have some people waiting for the regular council meeting. So I entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll reconvene at the regular council meeting at 7:10.
So moved. Second.
Moving a second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, we are adjourned. We'll reconvene at 7:10. 3 to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmembers Dixon? Good?
Here.
Martinez?
Here.
Ortiz?
Here.
Powell? Here. Rauschenberger? Stefan?
Here.
Thorne?
Here.
Mayor Captain?
Here. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of June 14th, 2023.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, clerk please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Captain?
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. We have one proclamation this evening with Steve Gardner at the podium. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an essential, adaptable, and integral part of communities throughout this country, including Elgin, and whereas parks and recreations promote health, wellness, and time spent in nature, improving both physical and mental health, increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for adults and children to enjoy popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs include opportunities such as providing health and nutritious meals, out-of-school programming, youth sports, and environmental education activities, all of these being critical to childhood development. And whereas our 75 Elgin parks and natural recreation areas are fundamental to the environment, resilient in the face of natural disaster and climate change, improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community, increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, attraction and retention of businesses, reduction of crime levels. And now, therefore, I, David Captain, Mayor of the City of Elgin, Illinois, do hereby declare the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Elgin. Thank you. And with us is Steve Gard from the Parks and Recreation. Really have the opportunity to thank our employees for Parks and Recreation for their hard work in making sure that these things happen. Nothing happens by accident. It takes good people to make that work. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor Captain. Thank you, City Council. My name is Steve Gard. I am the aquatic supervisor with the City of Elgin, and our department is very excited to celebrate July as National Parks and Recreation Month. Since 1985, people of the United States have celebrated Parks and Recreation Month in July to promote building strong, vibrant, and resilient communities through the power of parks and recreation, to recognize more than 160,000 full-time employees of Parks and Recreation professionals, along with hundreds of thousands of part-time seasonal workers and volunteers that maintain our country's local, state, and community parks. This year's theme is Where Community Grows. So it celebrates the vital role Parks and Recreation professionals play in bringing people together, providing essential services, and fostering the growth of the community. We are encouraging the members of our community to grow with us and to grow together by attending some of our programs and events that we're hosting this month. So some of those include, but are not limited to, outdoor water aerobics, which takes place every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at Wing Park Family Aquatic Center from 9 to 10 a.m. Fitness in the Park. These are free fitness classes. They take place every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. For the month of July, they are at the Wing Park Band Shell. And this program will continue through the month of August. Same days and times, Saturdays from 9 to 10 a.m., and those will take place at Lord's Park. Again, that's the month of August. We also have a drop-in playground program. This is another free program for children ages 6 to 12 years old. It takes place Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In 3 of the parks that we have within the city of Elgin. So those 3 parks are St. Francis Park, Cornerstone Park, and College Green Park. We have employees that are present to supervise the kids that are dropped off. They facilitate games and activities. And then free lunches are provided 5 days a week by the Northern Illinois Food Bank at 11:30 a.m. And then to cap off the month, we're having a pool party out at Wing Park Family Aquatic Center. It's called Light Up the Night Pool Party. It takes place Friday, July 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. So we're going to have some family-friendly entertainment, some dancers, games, giveaways, prizes, just a fun night to families that come out and experience Wing Park Pool for free with some added entertainment. And then outside of those specific events, we're always encouraging the members of our community to come and enjoy some of the amazing facilities and amenities that we have within the city. So come and swim at Adventure Island, swim at Wing Park Family Aquatic Center, play a round of golf at one or all 3 of our wonderful golf courses that we have, climb the rock wall, play basketball, or get a workout in at the Ed Shock Center of Elgin, try pickleball or tennis at one of our various parks that we have, walk the trails of the Hawthorne Hill Nature Center, or sign up for a softball league at the Elgin Sports Complex. You can always find more information on our facilities, our parks, and our programs at our website, centerofelgin.org, and we are looking forward to growing with you. Thank you for your time.
Brings us to the portion where we allow people to speak for up to 3 minutes on issues of great interest to them and share them with the city council. First person to sign up is Sherry Liskey.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Hope you are well and able to manage this air quality situation we are in now. My name is Sherry Liskey, and I'm a resident of Elgin. Tonight, I would like to comment on a current program provided by the City of Elgin, that being the water pitcher and filter distribution program. And all my comments are based on information that I know personally or that I could find. And so here is the pitcher and the extra filter that the public's able to get through this program. Okay, so residents of Elgin who live in homes or buildings that have lead service lines should be able to sign up through the 120 Water for these pitchers on the city website or the QR code that's on the handouts. This program has been available for, I think, about 3 months now. Well, it works. Sign up, and if you are eligible, they send a pitcher and 1 extra filter to your residents. At this time, I would like to ask the city to, okay, so here's the ask here. At this time, I would like to ask the city to amplify the promotion of this program. Step up the communication to the public through social media, print advertisement, and by that I mean I've done a few go-rounds in the downtown area, and there's a lot of posters up for different things that are going on in the city, but I only saw 2 posters for the water pitcher distribution, and one was in English and one was in Spanish. But I have a suggestion that on the posters you do like one side English and one side Spanish, so they're both together. And let's see, so let's see, increase the businesses through word of mouth to the building owners and property managers through the direct mail if that's possible. And then something that I was thinking about too was some tabling at community events and in public spaces, like at the library, how you would be able to help people sign up right there. Healthcare facilities, nonprofits, and community groups. In addition, providing a running total, no, this is really, I think, a really good idea. In addition, providing a running total of pictures distributed would promote positive community engagement and accountability. This is a good example of a city taking tangible steps to promote public health. So let's monitor the city website for progress in the picture distribution, possibly through the hyperlinks that was suggested for a different program earlier, as well as a service line replacement, and watch the number of green dots increase. So what I mean by that is when you go to that part of the lead service pipe replacement program, you can see each house or each building in the city, and if it's black, they have the lead service, but if it's green, it means that that's been taken care of. And you can see the crews working in the neighborhoods, and that I stopped by the other day and thanked the crews for working and replacing our lines. It's really an expensive program, and it's going to take a while, but in the meantime, the city is providing a way for people to get the lead out of their water. So thank you to all involved in providing safe drinking water for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Jose Melgar.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Jose Melgar. I came in here last month. Some of you guys might remember me. I'm a small landscaping business located out of Elgin. Unfortunately, I fell victim to, I want to say, bid fraud or bid rigging on my end. While I was going through the proper steps trying to figure out to get to the bottom of it, I also ran into some discrimination on my end. When I came into my Elgin building downstairs to ask for help, proper steps on how to handle the situation, there was no proper steps. I was told by our rep, Maya Kumpara, the proper steps, to send an email basically explaining what happened, and that was it. Call it a day. I was very unsatisfied to hear that, especially after being discriminated against, that there is no proper steps for citizens here in Elgin to write a proper report or to follow up with the upper or the next person to write the report. I think our city needs, our council needs to help or find a proper person to help our city, or have another employee on that end to figure out when a person wants to make a report on one of our staffs, instead of covering each other's backs, maybe we could have somebody out the circle that can figure out how to get the discrepancies or how to figure out a situation instead of sending an email and disregarding it. That's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say. We can have our council figure out a way for us to have another employee in our city or add it to our circle to write up or follow up with all these reports that we do. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple other gentlemen that have signed up for items on the agenda. When your item comes up, you have free opportunity to speak if you choose, or answer questions, and staff will be directing you down that path. It brings us to bids. We have one item tonight. It's bid number 23-017, a Hemmons Center North Side renovation and addition. Need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we award the 18 bids that have been identified in the amount of $12,860,772.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion? Okay. Ms. Powell.
Yes, I'm going to ask the question I usually ask when we do some of these bids, and this is a huge one. Curious as to whether any of these bidders that are being recommended are MBE, WBE, veterans, businesses, anything like that? Because I know that it's my understanding we are asking that of the vendors, correct, in the bid process?
I would definitely have to refer to Purchasing Officer Dana Denai, but I can definitely get that information for you.
Okay. Just curious, especially when we're spending this amount of money, I would like to see how much we're spending with some of those some of those business entities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez, Ortiz.
Yes.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Brings us to other business. The first item is consideration of petition 10-23-1655 to 1705 Madeline Lane, preliminary and final plat of subdivision to re-subdivide an existing 15.7 acre property for a light industrial development. Mr. Malat.
Perfect timing.
Is everything, isn't it? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is located at the northeast corner of Big Timber and Madeline Lane. Here is Big Timber, this is Madeline, and this is Alf Lane. The recently completed headquarters for the Gold Coast Logistics is located here. The applicant is requesting approval of a re-subdivision of about 16 acres of vacant land at 1655 to 1705 Madeline Lane. The land consists of 6 lots that were platted back in 2002. GPF Seafried Elgin 2022 LLC is proposing to consolidate the 6 lots into 2 lots to have a clean title with 1 building on 1 lot to enhance marketability. Lot 1 would consist of the northern approximately 8 acres for the construction of a new light industrial building, and the southern Lot 2 would include an expanded stormwater detention facility. Seafried intends to construct a 144,000 square foot speculative light industrial building on Lot 1. Mass grading has already been approved and started as the property is zoned for light industrial development. The permit for the new building will most likely be issued tomorrow. The applicant is available should you have any questions. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval subject to the conditions outlined within your packet.
Move for approval, subject to the conditions.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any questions for Mr. Malat or the applicant? This time? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Item 2 is consideration of petition 11-23, 1725 North State Street, conditional use for a planned development to construct an outdoor patio with a pergola and at an existing restaurant. Mr. Malat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is located at the northeast corner of Route 31 and Tollgate Road. This is Route 31 or State Street, and Tollgate Road is here. The Holiday Inn is here. St. Sophia's Greek Orthodox Church here. BP Pride of Elgin with their recent addition of diesel fueling stations is here, and Life Storage is here. Alexander's Cafe requests approval of an outdoor patio with a pergola in front of their restaurant at 1725 North State Street. While an outdoor patio is allowed, a pergola is not allowed in the street yard of the restaurant, requiring a departure from the zoning ordinance requirements. The 900 square foot outdoor patio would be partially covered by the 18-foot wide by 34-foot long cedar pergola. The patio would include a brick paver surface and be surrounded by 24-inch high planters and a 20-inch high seating wall. Except for the installation of a new door for direct access from the restaurant to the patio, the applicant is not proposing any other changes to the building or the site. No live music is proposed, but the applicant is allowed to have accessory live or recorded music on the patio for its customers. The city's standard noise ordinance controls. If the zoning approval is granted, the applicant must still apply for and obtain an updated liquor license to allow for the service of alcohol drinks on the new patio. The applicant is available should you have any questions. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval, subject to conditions outlined within your packet.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Mr. Thorne.
Thank you. I think I'm not alone. Everyone knows Alexander's. They do a stellar job with their building. They had an issue with their sign and they had it repaired immediately. I'm sure that this will be a nice addition, and I compliment it and I will service it.
Anything else? Ms. Powell.
Looks beautiful. Definitely will support it, and I appreciate the fact that Alexander's continues to invest in their property. The food's always outstanding and the service is good, and I think this will do a lot for bringing probably a whole different crop of folks there that want to come and enjoy food and a beverage outside.
Anything else? Mr. Stepp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also wanted to support this, and I know it has to come, since it's in the front of a building and not in the backyard, it has to come for a departure, and I certainly welcome that and would hope that others would think of this as an alternative too. And I'm happy that we're taking some of the parking spaces and using them for other things, and still having enough to meet the ordinance, and maybe even consider looking at our parking ordinance. So thank you.
Okay, Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Congratulations. Sure.
Hello, I'm Bob Karras, the Karras Restaurant Group. I haven't done anything in Elgin in a while, and I've been working with a lot of other cities for other projects, and it's refreshing to know that this whole process with the council, with Mr. Malat, it's been so easy and helpful, and Mr. Lemire? Yes, Lemire. And Mr. Waden? He, very helpful, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air of what I've dealt with other towns. Not that they weren't bad, but different here. It's just different. And I was born in Elgin, been here my whole life, and we like to invest in the town, and we love to be here. So hopefully we'll do some more things in the future.
Thank you for the good words, and it's always nice to hear those because we get the bad ones too.
That's how it is in restaurants too. You don't hear the bad stuff, but when you hear good stuff here, it's like makes you feel good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karras.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, brings us to item 3 is a consideration of petition 14-13, zoning ordinance text amendment to establish a definition and zoning regulations for brew pubs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Commission and staff are recommending approval of an amendment to the text of the zoning ordinance to encourage brew pubs to locate downtown. The proposed amendment would create a definition for a brew pub that follows the existing definition with the Illinois State Liquor Code and the recent amendment to the Elgin Liquor Code. The Illinois State Liquor Code considers microbreweries as brew pubs. A brew pub would be defined as an establishment that brewed beer on site and sold that beer for consumption both on and off premises. A brew pub could also sell other brands of beer and liquor for consumption on premises. A brew pub would not be required to offer food service, but it certainly could. The number of gallons of beer produced by a brew pub annually, would be limited by the State Liquor Code, as it may be amended from time to time. That number currently is 155,000 gallons. The amendment proposes adding brew pubs to the list of permitted uses in the downtown center city districts, CC1 and CC2, and the AB area business districts. AB districts are typically located along Elgin's busiest commercial corridors. Eating places and drinking places are permitted uses in CC1, CC2, and AB zoning districts, and the zoning ordinance currently allows any eating place or drinking place to brew and sell its own beer for consumption on premises, but only as an accessory use that is then limited to no more than 10% of the floor area. A separate and distinct brew pub land use removes that operational restriction. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval, subject to the conditions outlined within your packet.
Move for approval, subject to the conditions.
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval, subject to conditions. Any discussion? Questions from Mr. Malat? Ms. Powell?
Well, I would ask if you brought samples, but I guess that would be inappropriate. But
Well, since we're on the same team, probably not, but so I failed. My apologies.
I'm excited to see this. I think just taking this small proactive approach could help spur some more interest in our community in bringing brew pubs here. So I know the Downtown Neighborhood Association is excited. I know they're not here today, but I think that they were in talks with some folks at some point. But the fact that it's not just downtown, it's our AB district, which includes like our main corridors like Randall Road and McLean Boulevard, places like that. There's a lot of options for something to pop up here. So crossing our fingers, and hopefully we can get aggressive and bring a brew pub here, even though I'm not a big beer drinker, but I know a lot of people are, so.
They'll
Thank
they'll
you.
have other things on the menu for you.
They will have other things on the menu that I will be very interested in.
Anything else? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Item 4 is a resolution accepting the proposal of Alliant Property Insurance Program for the City of Elgin's property, inland marine, and cyber liability insurance.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we accept the proposal, the updated proposal with the additional work by Kelly and others, thank you, to approve this insurance.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Item 5 is a resolution providing for termination of an agreement with Cornerstone Partners Horticultural Services Company for Central Business District contractual landscape maintenance awarded pursuant to bid number 23-006.
Move
for
approval. Second.
It has been moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Miscellaneous business.
Move to approve or accept.
Second.
Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0. Announcements. The next committee of the whole meeting will be Wednesday, July 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. In the city council chambers. The next regular meeting of the Elgin City Council will be Wednesday, July 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the city council chambers. Entertain a motion to adjourn back to the committee of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, we are adjourned. Motion to reconvene.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second to reconvene. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, we are back in business. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item D is an agreement with Flyby Chicago to provide a drone show as part of the end of summer bash. August is generally recognized as the month of the family and the time when kids prepare returning to school. Last August's successful end of summer bash is returning this year with more programming, including art activities, live music, food and drinks, and participation from local service partners. This year's event will be concluding with Elgin's first drone show, a 10 to 12-minute show taking off from the top deck of the Grand Victoria Casino parking lot. The show consists of 120 drones operating in a synchronized and programmed show that will be the first of its kind in this area. Thank you, Ms. Harris and Mr. Wilhelmi, for putting this together.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved to second for approval. Any discussion?
I got excited. I thought it said drag show, but it's drone. It's drone show. Okay.
Okay. Should be exciting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0.
Item E is the third amendment to the engineering services agreement with Strand Associates for treatment facility engineering projects. Strand is providing engineering services necessary to continue maintaining the city's water treatment facilities. Projects completed or currently in progress under the current agreement with Strand include covers for the sludge collector pits at the Airlight Water Treatment Plant, the primary basin number 1 and secondary basin number 1 replacements at the Leo Nelson Water Treatment Plant, and the wash water piping replacement project at the Riverside Water Treatment Plant. This amendment will allow the work on all of these projects to continue.
Move approval.
Second. Moved and second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, motion's approved 7-0.
Item F is the review of the City Council Rules of Procedure. The city ordinance provides for the City Council's review of the council rules of procedures within 60 days following each City Council election. This item is being presented to the City Council to comply with that ordinance requirement. So in the event that there are no requests for changes to the existing City Council Rules of Procedure, would proceed, but you may remember that there was a previous memorandum from Corporation Counsel Cogley that suggests that a public comment section be added to the Committee of the Whole agendas. And if that change is acceptable, Mayor, you could entertain a motion to approve as recommended.
I'll make the motion to approve it as, with that recommendation from corporate counsel to add that public comment.
That doesn't actually need a rule change, but just with the council's concurrence, we'll do that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, okay.
Okay, we have concurrence, no need for a rule change.
Yeah.
So we're good?
We're good.
Mr.
Okay.
Thorne?
I'm curious of something. How is it, what's the actual policy is how we get appointed or put on specific commissions?
So the council, there is no set of formal policies the council has with that. So what the council has proceeded with, for instance, with respect to the Liquor Commission, which there were 4 council members just appointed to the Liquor Commission for the next 2-year term. The procedure that the council implemented half a dozen or more years ago was that the council members serving their 3rd and 4th years of their then current term would be first offered the opportunity, there are 4 each time, to serve in those 4 positions of the Liquor Commission. And so that, and that, you were notified of that in my memo to the council recently following the election. And if any of those 4 didn't want to serve, then it would be opened up to the rest of the council and take volunteers. So that's the process we've used for the Liquor Commission. Council can change that, of course. They can decide whatever they want. The rest of those appointments have been really on an ad hoc basis. There are no policies. So that council liaison to, for instance, the Sustainability Commission has been Councilmember Rauschenberger. That, there's no policy. She's on that. She continues to serve on that. The council could decide to set a specific term for that, to alternate that. It's really up to the council. And there are, I believe, Councilmember Dixon might be the liaison to the Human Relations Commission. Again, that would be up to the council to set, if they want to set a specific term, and whether they reappoint, whether they rotate, it's really up to the council to decide those. But there are no formal policies for those circumstances.
I guess part of my question is, I've learned a lot about the Liquor Commission, and I welcome that additional knowledge. And that made me think about this, and that's why I inquired that, to me, it might enlighten all of us if we rotated or went on different commissions at different times rather than stay on one for a long time. I can see where there could be a plus if you were an expert in that field, but still, I think it could benefit us as well, learning from those. That's just kind of my opinion. I'd love to hear others' comments on that.
Okay, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I kind of wondered about that because I know like sustainability and, what is it called? The Human
Human relations.
Relations Commission, like, they didn't have liaisons before. People were interested in it and they asked to be on it. And it was, I remember, I've been on the EA CVB, and then a council person requested to be on that as well. And it was, that kind of threw me off a little. But then it turned out that that council member just didn't come to the meetings and then finally resigned. So what happens in that case if they ask to be on that commission or that group and then they don't show up? You know, I mean, that's happened. And so how do we do that? I mean, how do you plan on working with that forward?
Well, certainly that would be a council decision to do that. We could ask Mr. Cogley to come back and provide some suggestions, look at what other communities do. And if it's a rotating type thing, I think that's certainly appropriate. You know, I think that, I'm trying to think back. Maybe Bill, you can enlighten me, but I know I was appointed as a liaison to the Cultural Arts Commission when I first became a councilman, but I don't recall many council members being liaisons at that time. Just my.
I believe the Cultural Arts Commission was the first of those.
Yeah.
And I believe we've expanded that to add sustainability and human relations. I'm just looking at I just went online, it looks like in 2019 we did that with human relations. I think sustainability may have done that almost simultaneously with that as well.
And of course, Liquor Commission has always been council members.
Liquor Commission has always had council members, and, you know, it was 2 at one time with the mayor to then it was the whole council, and then it went down to 4 members in the mayor. So that's always had that. But Culture Arts, I think, was the first one, and that could be more than a dozen years ago. That's been a while that we've had a liaison for cultural arts.
Because.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, you still have the floor.
Thank you. Because the one that I belong to, it's something that I enjoy, and we're in the process of expanding the sports complex, and having played in it at the sports complex and being familiar with the sports, it's something that I personally would like to continue. But I feel if somebody is interested in it, well, you know, I think I would go ahead and let them. I'm just saying that.
Anything else? Yep. Oh, Mr. Stefan.
Yeah, just to add more context, historical context, I was on the Chamber's employment subcommittee, and then I think Terry Gavin was on there too after me. Now there's nobody, but the Chamber is a likely place to have a liaison. I'm also the liaison and currently board president because everybody else was termed out at the Housing Authority of Elgin. So that's another one that the council has a liaison to or a member at. Just trying to get more information out to all the rest of the council.
Certainly staff could come back and do a little research for us and see what other communities do as council, and we talk about improving what the council does all the time. And I can't disagree.
And I almost forgot I was on Butch's Hemmons Advisory Commission, probably before we even had electricity, I think.
It's a long time ago.
Right.
Okay, staff, you have a little direction from us, and come back with a little research for us, and we can have a discussion at a future date, maybe at a retreat. Would it be appropriate at a retreat, Bill?
Whatever the council's pleasure is.
Or at an executive session?
Not executive session.
No, it won't be, it's not an executive session. But we can take a
We'll
look
come
at
back,
it.
consult.
Yeah, we'll come
Thank
back
you.
with some
Have the
things.
direction. Thank you.
All right. Announcements from the council. Ms. Powell.
I would just like to wish our residents a happy and safe 4th of July coming up. I know the police department has put out a lot of information about avoiding the illegal use of fireworks, but I'm going to take this to a little different level. A friend of mine, her son who lives in another Chicago suburb, was unfortunately playing with illegal fireworks last year, and it detonated in his hand, and he lost 3 fingers. So there are real consequences to people thinking they know what they're doing, not really understanding what they're doing, playing with these illegal fireworks. They're dangerous, and people are maimed and sometimes killed with these fireworks. So I just want to bring that up to folks to think long and hard. I think the fines are going to be pretty stiff this year. And this young man is, you're younger than my son, so he's 16 years old, and he is missing 3 fingers from one of his hands. Still a hell of a football player, though, but that's real, and that's something that can happen and does happen when you're dealing with those types of things. So I just ask our folks to be careful and think long and hard. Thank you.
Mr. Thorne.
Thank you. To add to Councilwoman Powell's comments, if you recall, 2 weeks ago, I talked about the signs that the EPD was doing, and I believe those are now available at EPD. And those are 2 different, they're downstairs. They're downstairs, and there's 3 different signs. One's more focused for pets, one for vets, and one's just neighborhood. But encourage anyone to take those signs, and last year I had some in my yard, and I literally had people coming up asking how they could get them. So hopefully that will help. If it helps just one household, it helps.
Anything else? Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also like to congratulate the group that had a very successful first-time LGBTQ parade. I was unfortunately not able to attend, but I understand it was very successful. I even saw it on the news in Chicago. And the only complaint that I heard about this was that I wish it would have started early. I think it started at 11, and who can control what the weather's going to be like? But other than that, congratulations for a successful parade.
Yes. Mr. Stefan.
Well, I just, that reminded me, I wanted to get out that we are having, I think it's our 5th bike race in the northeast neighborhood of Elgin. It's a month from today, actually. It's July 28th. It's a Friday. It is the 8th stage of the Intelligentsia bike race series. The week before us is the next closest stage. That Friday, the 21st, is in West Dundee. The races start about 11 o'clock. The last race is the men's professionals. Goes off about 6:30 and finishes about 8 p.m. So there's 9 hours of bike racing, essentially. It will be up at the corner of Cooper and Spring Street with a short criterium race through the neighborhood. There will be food trucks. There will be a beer vendor with some other beverages as well. And there will be a bike giveaway. Our Kiwanis Club is donating 20 bikes, and they're getting bikes from other sources. There will be information on how kids can sign up and get a new bike or a refurbished bike. And there will be a safety parade, and there will also be a family fun ride about 6 o'clock right before that last race, where everybody's invited to bring their families down, and you get to go out and ride on the course with some of the bikers and just get a sense of what it's like. So remember that it's July 28th up in the northeast neighborhood. Thanks.
Ms. Powell, you had something else?
One other thing I'd like to add is congratulations to the Juneteenth committee for putting on another successful Juneteenth celebration here in Elgin last weekend. Very well attended, lots of vendors, had stilt walkers. That was one of the highlights of the event. But congratulations and thanks to the African American Coalition of Kane County, who spearheads this, and all of the sponsors that were involved and our small but mighty committee. Thank you.
One last thing for me, I want to make sure that everyone has a safe 4th of July. Join my friends and I at Festival Park for the best and safest fireworks in the Fox Valley. There are going to be 2 fireworks shows this year. One will be at 4th of July and one will be on September 15th. Both exciting. There's no reason for you to do them at home. And one last thing. If you can afford fireworks, you can afford the fine. And I think that's a serious message that we're going to send out. We're deadly serious about this year. We're going to stop this kind of thing and the abuse of that, and have no sympathy for people that can go out and spend $700 or $800 on fireworks, and they can also pay the fine. Okay, Mr. Manager, have anything from staff?
Yes, before the 5 p.m. fireworks display with the 90s throwback concert at Festival Park, with the fireworks display beginning at 9:20, don't forget that we have the annual 4th of July parade beginning at the intersection of Slade and Douglas Avenues at 9 a.m. The parade will conclude right out in front here of City Hall, spend some time in the downtown, and then get ready to get to Festival Park at 5 o'clock for the concert and the fireworks. Thanks, Mayor.
Terrific. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's adjourned. Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Good,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Mayor Captain.
Yes, we are adjourned. Have a good evening.